Hello everyone, I am Abigail Narsolas Hermosa from 2G1 AB Psychology. And before I start my discussion, let me ask you this question. Are you one of a million people who knows, recognize, and acknowledge the sport as their own identity? If you say so, then this is the right video for you to watch. In addition, this is a good opportunity for you to know, familiarize yourself with the concept, ideas, and information about sport. This video is divided into two parts. The first one is about the definition of sports and the terminologies where the word sports originated and that is being used by different people. The next portion tackles about the classification of sports, which is categorized into three classifications, namely the general classification of sports, the classification of sports according to players' composition, and the classification of sports according to level. So, if you are eager to know about the topic, without further ado, let's start. Sports pertains to a lifetime activity for some people. Sport plays a vital role in our society, especially it is the integral part of our life as it becomes essential for our physical, emotional, mental, and social well-being. But did you know that the word sport comes from different terminologies and interpretation? Yes, you heard it right. The word sport is being introduced with different terminologies in history. Let's say for an instance, the origin of the word sport comes from the term the sport from an Old French, which means leisure. In American English, they use the word singular sport, which they refer as a general type of recreational activity. In Persian term, they use the root word board, means winning. In Chinese term, they use the term theo that connotes physical training. And in modern Greek, they use the term atletismos, which directly cognate in our English term athleticism and athlete. Aside from the different terminologies, they also provide meanings and definition for the term sports. Let's say the oldest definition of sports from different people. In English 1300, they define the sport as anything that humans find amusing and entertaining. While according to Rogers 1995, the sport is an activity for relaxation and amusement with diversion and recreation. However, according to Lumpkin 1998, the sport is defined as a physical activity that governs with formal and informal rules that involving competition for fun, recreation, and or reward. Aside from the definition from different people, there is also definition from dictionaries, such as in Wikipedia and Yahoo reference. They define the sport as an organized, skillful activity requiring strategy, physical exertion, and skills that is governed by set of rules and often undertaken competitively. So now, let's move to the next portion of our discussion, which I will tackle about the classification of sports. So let's start with the general classification of sports. There are 17 sports classified where 8 examples is being provided. Let's say athletics, running, ball games, basketball. Club and ball sport, golf. Cue sports, billiards. Combat sports, taekwondo. Dance sports, standard dance sports. Extreme sports, UFC. Gymnastics, artistic gymnastics. Sports, chess. Motorsports, motocross. Racket sports, badminton. Riding sports, equestrian. Shooting and target sports, archery. Water sports, swimming. Winter sports, figure skating. Weight sports, weightlifting. And wheel sports, cycling. The next method in which the sport is being classified is based according to players' composition. The first one to discuss is about the individual sport, which people play individually using their own skills and strategy against their opponent. Some examples of individual sports are archery, badminton, boxing, chess, cycling, diving, figure skating, golf, skiing, swimming, weightlifting, and other individual sports. The second one is the dual sports, which is played with partner, duo, pair, or two players striving against their opponent. Some examples of dual sports such as badminton, billiards, bowling, dance sports, figure skating, lawn tennis, table tennis, and so on. From the mentioned examples, you can notice that some sports are repeated or selected twice because they are limited since it can dual or dual. The third one is the team sports, where the player played per team. Team sports are practiced between opposing teams where the players generally interact directly and simultaneously between opposing teams to achieve their objectives. Some examples of these sports are basketball, volleyball, baseball, football, and other various forms of association organized for team competition. So, after discussing the general classification of sports and the classification of sports according to players' composition, let's move to the third ways in which the sport is being classified, which is based from the classification according to level. This classification is familiar to each one of us because some of this classification becomes the center of discussion and view. I said this because the following classification are very popular to all of us. The classification that I'm referring to is the level of sports, which is categorized into two called the amateur and the professional. The amateur level is the popular type of the sports which one player or more act as an ambassador of a country competing in a highly organized competition, such as in national games, SEA Games, Olympic Games, and Asian Games. It becomes the center of our discussion, especially in the recent national competition where our country won the first medal in the honor of Heidelin Diaz. And many other who gained the honor for our country. The second category is the professional level of the sports, which pertains to a popular profitable type of sports elevated as an entertainment. The most popular example of this category is our very own Manny Pacquiao in his sport boxing. The boxing became popular to all Filipinos because of the presence of one of the greatest professional boxers of all time that won multiple achievements for our own country. Each of his fights become a look-forward event and supported by so many Filipinos. And that's all for my discussion about the topic. But before I end this video, let me take this opportunity to tell you that we can really say that sports are very crucial in every student growth and development. Not just for students but all of the people. Because it helps throughout the development of our well-being. Through the participation in sports and other games, every students and other people gains various skills, experiences, and of course, the values that very helpful in developing their own personality. They say, when we engage in sport, we have to give all of our best. Always make a total effort, even the odds is against us. Play with the mind and compete with the heart. And always remember that in playing sport, always take the initiatives and play the game. In decisive set, the confidence is the difference. That is from the famous quotation of Chris Evert. That's all. Thank you!